So you know the rules to this game. Robots paint, and you guys guess. And again, the category is 20 key figures involved in events surrounding 9/11. So good luck. And this is pretty cool. It's first-person clues. I was born into a wealthy Saudi family. I was trained in guerrilla warfare during the Soviet-Afghan War. Who knows already who it is? Kind of iconic face, huh? I founded a global jihadist organization in the late 1980s. My organization orchestrated the most deadly terrorist attack on U.S. soil. Osama. Yes, it is. Not Obama. Nope. Osama. You got it. I was killed by U.S. Navy SEALs in Pakistan in 2011. So yes, indeed, we start easy, we get harder. This is Osama bin Laden. He was the mastermind behind 9/11 attacks and led the terrorist group al-Qaeda. There he is. Robots did a pretty good job painting Osama bin Laden, didn't they? Wasn't he like a contractor originally? Or maybe his dad was a construction guy. Yeah. All right, next up. I followed in my father's footsteps by becoming president of the United States. I was serving my first term when 9/11 attacks occurred. I declared a war on terror shortly after the attacks. Think you can guess this one? Pretty easy. We start easy and they gradually get harder. And I challenge all of you to get the last two or three in this category. I declared a war on terror shortly after the attacks. I authorized the invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq. My memorable words, America is under attack. There you go. You got it. Looks like him, doesn't it? Pretty much. Robots, for robots. Pretty close. Yes, indeed. This is George W. Bush. He was the U.S. president during the 9/11 attacks and played a major role in shaping post-9/11 world. So yeah, this has already been 23 years, if you can believe that. Time does fly. There he is, George W. Next up. I served as U.S. Secretary of Defense during the Gulf War. I had significant influence in shaping U.S. foreign policy after 9/11. I was one of the architects of the Iraq War. I am Team Kamala. Gotta tease it about that one. I survived a near fatal heart attack while serving as vice president. I shot a guy in the face while serving as vice president. Yes, you've got it. I was the vice president during the 9/11 attacks. I think everybody's probably got this one. Yes, indeed. This is Dick Cheney. Cheney was a key figure in the Bush administration, deeply involved in decisions following 9/11. Dick Cheney, still in the news. Speaking of guys that are sometimes still in the news, next up. I was an attorney before entering politics. I earned a reputation for cracking down on crime in New York City. I led New York City through one of the darkest days. I became known as America's mayor for my leadership on 9/11. I was indeed the mayor of New York City during the 9/11 attacks. Who am I? I think you've got it, but it's not Gillum. Rudy. Rudy Tooty Tooty. Rudy Giuliani gained national recognition for his leadership in New York City during and after the 9/11 attacks. Y'all remember that? 23 years ago. Where were you all when it happened? I was watching CNBC. All right, next up. I served in Congress before joining the executive branch. I held the position of U.S. Secretary of Defense twice, including during 9/11. Yeah, I was at the house in Utah. It was pretty early morning, watching stock stuff. I was trading stocks at the time, and getting ready to go into work in Cedar City. Yeah. No, incorrect. I played a major role in planning for U.S. invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq. I was at the Pentagon when it was hit by a plane on 9/11. No, I don't know. Maybe the robots aren't doing such a good job with this painting. I think when it's done, you'll say it. So it's okay. I was the Secretary of Defense during the 9/11 attacks. Who was the Secretary of Defense during 9/11? The guy from the Vietnam War. Donald Rumsfeld. Donald Rumsfeld oversaw the U.S. military response to 9/11 and played a key role in the early stages of the war on terror. There you go. Donald Rumsfeld. I bet you'll get this one. I was a professor and expert in Soviet studies before entering government. I served as the first female African-American Secretary of State. I warned of a possible terror attack before 9/11. I coordinated U.S. national security policy during the attacks. Who knows who this is? Who's got this one? I bet you know it. I was the national security advisor during the 9/11 attacks. Remember who this is? From Stanford. Now she's like a member of the Masters Committee at the Augusta National Golf. Yeah. Condoleezza Rice. Condoleezza Rice was National Security Advisor during the 9/11 attacks and later became Secretary of State. Condoleezza Rice. Next up. Let's change of pace here a little bit. I was born in Kuwait, but educated in the U.S. I became involved in extremist groups in the 1990s. I plotted several high-profile terrorist attacks before 9/11. Who remembers who this is? I was the principal architect behind the 9/11 attacks. This is the architect guy. This is the architect guy. Wait, it's this way, right? No. I was captured in 2003 and have been held at Guantanamo Bay since. Guantanamo Bay since. I don't know why I'm having trouble saying Guantanamo tonight. Who knows who this is? This is Khalid Sheikh Mohammed. Khalid Sheikh Mohammed is considered the mastermind behind 9/11 attacks and remains in U.S. custody today. Okay, these get harder now. So those are the easy ones. Good luck. I was an academic. You might need to Google. I was an academic before entering government service. I was a key figure in developing U.S. defense policy during the Cold War. Who knows who this is? Anybody remember? I advocated for regime change. I said that already. In Iraq long before 9/11. I was a leading advocate for the 2003 invasion of Iraq. This is one of the guys. This is one of the guys. I was Deputy Secretary of Defense during 9/11. So this is the assistant guy. Who remembers who this is? Deputy Secretary of Defense in 2001. Who knows? Google, quick. Who's got it? Anybody? This is Paul Wolfowitz. You remember that? He played a pivotal role in shaping U.S. foreign policy after 9/11, particularly regarding Iraq. All right, you'll know the next one, I bet. I was the first African American to serve as chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff. I was a career soldier rising to the highest ranks in the U.S. military. I led U.S. forces in the first Gulf War. There you go, Tim. I got that right? I became Secretary of State shortly before 9/11. So he was actually Secretary of State at the time. I delivered a key address at the UN arguing for Iraq invasion. Yeah, everybody's got it, I think. I knew you'd get this one. Colin Powell. Colin Powell was a prominent military political figure serving as Secretary of State during the 9/11 era. Okay, some of these are easy, some of these are hard. So good luck. Colin Powell. That looks like him, right? The robots did pretty good painting that one. Yeah. Colin Powell. All right, here we go. Next one. I was a U.S. Senator before being appointed to the Bush administration. I played a major role in shaping U.S. legal responses to terrorism. Who remembers who this is? I oversaw the creation and implementation of the U.S. Patriot Act. Ugh. Wish they'd get rid of that. I guess it was needed at the time, maybe. I led the Department of Justice during one of the most critical periods in U.S. history. I was the U.S. Attorney General during the 9/11 attacks. Everybody remember that? I'm not sure the robots are hitting this one on the button. But his face is definitely right. Who knows this? I was the Attorney General during the 9/11 attacks. Who knows? Remember Bush's Attorney General? John Ashcroft. John Ashcroft led the legal response to 9/11 attacks, including the controversial U.S. Patriot Act. Controversial indeed. All right, these just get harder. So be ready. Have your Google, have your phone ready. I served in multiple presidents' administrations focusing on counterterrorism. I warned the government about the threat of al-Qaeda before 9/11. I became a vocal critic of the government's response to terrorism after the attacks. I testified before the 9/11 Commission, apologizing to the victims' families. I was the National Coordinator for Security Infrastructure Protection and Counterterrorism. That doesn't sound like that important of a job, I'm not sure. I do remember this guy in the news quite a bit. And this looks like him. So anybody got a guess? Anybody know? Going. This is Richard Clark. Richard Clark was a leading counterterrorism expert who raised alarms about the threat of al-Qaeda well before 9/11. This guy knew about something was up. Richard Clark. He's a spook, right? All these guys are spooks. Here we go. You probably know this one. I was a former governor before joining the federal government. I played a significant role in reshaping U.S. security policies after 9/11. I oversaw the creation of a new government department in response to the attacks. Everybody remember all this? Homeland Security, yes. I was the first person to hold a newly created cabinet level position. First new cabinet position in a long time. I became the first Secretary of Homeland Security. Everybody remember who this is? First Secretary of Homeland Security. Who knows? Quick, gone. This is Tom Ridge. Tom Ridge was the first U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security, a department created in response to 9/11. So we have them to thank for that. And the idea was to try to tie together all the loose ends because nobody was communicating. The CIA, the FBI, the Border Patrol, whoever it was, they wanted them all under one thing. So U.S. Secretary of Homeland Security. I bet you know this next one. I was a businessman and founder of a major financial news company before I entered politics. You should be able to get it from that. I succeeded a famous mayor during a very challenging time. So this is the guy that came after Giuliani. I took office shortly after the 9/11 attacks. Jan's got it. I implemented significant changes in New York City's public health and safety policies. No big soft drinks, right? That was a big one. No big soft drinks. I was the mayor of New York City after Rudy Giuliani. I already gave you that clue. I anticipated the robot's clue. Pretty good painting of him, don't you think? I think so. Everybody know that this is Michael Bloomberg. Michael Bloomberg became the mayor of New York City shortly after 9/11, guiding the city through its recovery period. Michael Bloomberg. All right, nice name, mister. Who knows this next one? I was a former Marine officer who served in Vietnam. I became the second longest serving director of the FBI. I oversaw major changes within the FBI after 9/11. Who remembers who this is? He's stayed in the news all the way till now. I led the FBI's investigation into the 9/11 attacks. This is the guy who led the investigation. Yeah, Jan's got it. I was the director of the FBI during 9/11. Yes, he was. There he is. I think the robots did an excellent job with this painting. They've nailed his look. Robert Mueller led the FBI's efforts to investigate the 9/11 attack and implemented reforms within his agency. Not really good reforms, in my opinion. There you go. Robert Mueller. All right, let's switch up. I bet you can get this one, though. I was an anti-Soviet resistance fighter in the 1980s. I became a key ally of the U.S. after the fall of the Taliban. I worked to rebuild a war-torn country after 9/11. I think the robots have this one, so you should be able to get it from the picture. I was elected president of Afghanistan in the country's first democratic election. This is the guy, first president, elected. I was the president of Afghanistan after the U.S. invasion of Afghanistan. Who remembers who this is? Who's got the name? Anybody know? It's an excellent picture. This is Last Chance. Going once, going twice. Sold. Hamid Karzai. Hamid Karzai was the first president of Afghanistan after the U.S. invasion, playing a crucial role in rebuilding the nation. For a while. Didn't work out in the long run. Am I right? Or am I right? I think you'll know this one. I was a British lawyer before becoming a politician. I was a staunch ally of the United States after 9/11. I supported the U.S. decision to invade Iraq despite opposition at home. Surely you know this. Here you go. Here's the money clue. I served as the Prime Minister of the United Kingdom for a decade. There you go. Shady 219. And Jan has it. I was the British Prime Minister during the 9/11 attacks. Like everybody's got this one this time. This indeed is Tony Blair. Tony Blair was a key U.S. ally supporting the war on terror after the invasion of Iraq. Okay, these last three guys, these are more obscure characters. You're going to have your little personal assistant with you to get these, I think. Good luck with these last. Oh, there's actually four. I was the first Asian American cabinet member in U.S. history. I played a critical role in a major decision involving air travel. Who knows this? I led efforts to secure U.S. airspace in the immediate aftermath of 9/11. So I kind of forgot about this, but this guy had a key role for a period of time. I ordered all planes to be grounded for the first time in U.S. history. Who remembers who that was? Who did that? I was the U.S. Secretary of Transportation during the 9/11 attacks. Hey, Shady's got it. Jan, I think you were on the right track. That's right. This is Norman Mineta. Norman Mineta was the U.S. Secretary of Transportation during 9/11, known for grounding all flights in the country? Can you imagine Buttigieg? I guess I'll reserve judgment on Mayor Pete. All right, let's go back to the other side. I was arrested for immigration violations before 9/11. I was a member of a global terrorist organization. I was trained as a pilot, but I didn't participate in the 9/11 attacks. I was believed to be the so-called 20th hijacker. I missed my flight. Right? He missed his flight. Bummer. This is the guy. I was the only person convicted in the U.S. for my role in the 9/11 attacks. So there you go. That's what you get for being late to your flights. And they didn't even have TSA, right? No TSA, and he was late. Who knows this guy's name? Zacarias Moussaoui. Zacarias Moussaoui was arrested before 9/11 and later convicted for his role in the attacks. You guys remember that? The trials and all that? Yeah, that was something. Yeah, Shady, you were close. I think you were on the right track there. Okay, 2 hard ones, guys. You guys ready? Here we go. Get the clues out there early. I was a former Watergate prosecutor. I became involved in a high-profile investigation in the early 2000s. I was known for my tough questioning of key witnesses. I played a prominent role in uncovering details about 9/11. This is the tough lawyer during the investigation. I was a member of the 9/11 Commission. Anybody remember this guy's name? Prominent role in the 9/11 Commission. This is a guy named Richard Benvenisti. Richard Benvenisti was a member of the 9/11 Commission helping to investigate the attacks. Richard Benvenisti. Got a cool name. Even though nobody remembers it. So maybe it's not so cool. Possibly. I told you these last couple were hard. So we got one more hard one. See if you remember this one. I served in Congress before joining a significant national investigation. Another key figure. I was known for my focus on national security issues. I helped draft important recommendations for preventing future attacks. I was part of a bipartisan group investigating the 9/11 attacks. Anybody remember another key figure on the 9/11 Commission? These last 2 were hard. Very obscure figures, but that's what we wanted. We wanted some easy ones at the beginning and some hard ones at the end. That's right. This is Timothy J. Romer. Timothy J. Romer was a key figure in the 9/11 Commission, contributing to the final report. So he's kind of like Jefferson, who helped write the right? Declaration of Independence and all that. Yeah, Timothy J. Romer. So now you know something. You learn something every time you watch Quick Bite History Live. There he is. So that concludes our 9/11. How'd you guys do? You guys did pretty good. You guys did pretty good.